Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for the 15th episode of How Well Are You, the talk show. So, here, as I always say, we're committed to dismantling the stigma associated with mental illness, one episode at a time. I am Cynthia Mobley Howell, your host and the driving force behind How Well Are You. As the founder and CEO, I'm dedicated to guiding you on a transformative journey towards achieving your optimal well being in every dimension, that is, spiritually, mentally, and physically. So, here, our mission is to empower you, ensuring that you emerge as the best version of you. How Well Are You, the talk show, places a special focus on the topic of mental well-being. So I want to thank you so much for joining us as we explore all aspects of mental health. We fearlessly tackle every topic here. As I always say, we leave no stone unturned. And for those of you who are catching the replay, feel free to leave a comment with the hashtag replay. Know that your presence is valued, even if you're tuning in after the live session. I'm just absolutely loving this journey that we're on together, encouraging others to understand and have compassion for those who are navigating the complexities of mental well-being. So go ahead, y'all know the routine, share that button or hit that share button rather, because we want everyone to know we're here right now. And your love and support means so much to us. And we want to hear from you. So don't hesitate to express your thoughts in the comments section. On this evening's episode, we have a very important topic to discuss. Some of you may know that September is National Suicide Prevention Month. And we believe that it's crucial to shed light on the issue of adolescent suicide prevention. Now, today, we are joined by a very special guest who's actually written a book for the purpose of preventing adolescent suicide. Now, he's going to be sharing his expertise and offering insights and discussing effective strategies to help prevent adolescent suicide. And we hope that through this episode that we can create a safe and open space to address this challenging topic, break the stigma, and ultimately save lives. So again, go ahead, take the next step, tag someone, click that share button so that others can also reap the benefits of the valuable insights we're about to uncover together. Let's spread the knowledge and make a positive impact on more lives. So with great pleasure, allow me to introduce our esteemed guest. Now, I have to say this before I introduce him. Normally, whenever I am bringing a guest on, I always ask that they send me a very brief bio. Most of the time, people don't send me a brief bio. He actually sent me a very brief bio. It was so brief until I was like, we got to do a little bit more than that, bro, because I know you. So I did a little bit of digging. So I add a little bit more to his brief, very brief bio that he sent me. He definitely knows how to follow instructions, but he sold himself just a little bit short on that bio. So I had to do a little digging so that I could give him his props. So Willie Spears is a critically acclaimed keynote speaker, author, evangelist, and award-winning teacher and coach. He spent 20 years in education as an administrator, teacher, and coach. His time in the classroom was focused on mental and physical health. Coach Spears has excited audience with his energetic, and this is absolutely true. If you ever see any of his presentations, this is so true. He's very energetic rather. He's relatable, and his presentations are very educational. Through his social media presence, including one video that has reached over 9 million views. Yes, y'all, 9 million views. He has a weekly editorial, and he is the author of, hold on to your hats, 15 books. 15. I'm just on number 2. He's on 15 and counting, I'm sure. Coach has become one of the country's most sought after speakers. And let me tell y'all something. A lot of times with these bios, people be embellishing stuff. And I ain't throwing no shade at nobody, but what y'all are hearing here, this is not embellishment. This is the true deal. I'm going to have his social media information up in a little bit, and you can check it out and see for a fact that we ain't lying. He speaks to thousands each month in several states. As a matter of fact, y'all see he's in his car, right? I'm just gonna tell it. He on the side of the road in Mississippi. He just got done speaking in New Orleans, and he pulled over to the side of the road. Okay, so he ain't no joke. So and this is through his business that he does this speaking, the Willie Spears Experience. So as founder of the Willie Spears Experience, Willie has added value to several successful organizations, including the Southern Company, State Farm, Alan and Jean Millar Center in Alberta, Canada, and dozens of universities, schools, teams, and churches. Willie has been featured on CNN, Fox, HBO, ESPN, and several regional television stations. Y'all get ready. Hold on to your seats. Pin your wigs on tight, because it's about to be on and popping up in here. Even though we're going to be talking about a very serious topic, Willie has so much energy, and I am looking so forward to hearing what he has to say. So let's all extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Willie Spears. Hey, Willie.
Thank you so much. And that's exactly why we don't sit along bio, because it's longer than the presentation.
That's okay.
But we're honored to be here. Thank you for what you're doing. It's so needed. The number one issue I see with mental health is we don't talk about it. And so your show focuses on having uncomfortable conversations about something we all should be talking about. So thank you for what you do.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. And again, I want to thank you, as I always say, for your yes. Thank you so much. So we are going to get right into it. And I see Miss Barbara Dixon is here. Hello. And we have my friend and sister, Miss Trina Poole. Thank you so much, all of you, for showing up. We appreciate your presence. Make sure you share this out, because this is going to be very, very good information. So Willie, I'm holding your book here in my hand, and it's called David's Depression, A Tale of Mental Illness. Can you share with our listening audience what inspired you to write this book?
5 of my players have died from suicide. My mother died from suicide. I didn't know how to talk about these issues. No one talks to me about them. I grew up in the church my whole life. I'm ordained through 2 different organizations. I took every theological course at my university. And still, no one talked about Jesus crying 3 times in the Bible. No one talked about how he would lose his cool, so to speak. Have what we call a breakdown. But what I think God would call a breakthrough. In Hebrews chapter 5, verse 7, when he was screaming and crying and snot because he didn't understand the magnitude of what was about to happen and didn't really want to go through with it. And he prayed to God, is there any other way we could do this? Like, I don't want to go through this. And usually when we pray, we expect the answer to be what we want it to be. So God didn't give him what he wanted, but God sent him an angel. And after that, power came. And so the Bible teaches us that after a quote unquote breakdown, or we acknowledge our vulnerability with mental illness, what happens is power is exuded. And just to break it down real quick to tell you why I wrote the book. After Jesus went through that, the Roman soldiers came to him and said, we're looking for Jesus. He says, I am him, and they all fell out. When he was in the temple, and he flipped over the tables and whipped everybody with the cords, some would call that a breakdown. After that, he went around healing people. His friend Lazarus was dying in a town called Bethany. He heard about it. He cried. After he cried, he raised the man from the grave. I believe after we admit that we don't have it all together, powerful things can happen. So this book is a gateway for especially young men to admit I don't have it all together. If you listen to these podcasts, rappers who are 50 years or older, like Puff Daddy, Jay-Z, Fat Joe, Busta Rhymes, Snoop Dogg, these guys are admitting I shouldn't have did the things that I did. Looking back on, I made some mistakes. I shouldn't have acted that way. And what's happening now, the more mature version of themselves, because they're not thinking with the lymphatic part of their brain, they're not being emotional. Their frontal lobe is fully developed. They're thinking rationally. And they're so successful that they can admit I haven't always had it together. Deion Sanders admitted he tried to kill himself in a dugout during a baseball game. He said, I was taking pills, hoping that somebody would notice. He said, I had all this stuff, but I had nothing on the inside. And so I wrote the book for young men to have a catalyst to talk about such a tough subject. So the book is blue on purpose. It's 99 pages, not 100. So when we market the young man, we say, hey man, it's less than 100 pages. You can read a book less than 100 pages. You read text messages. You read TikTok. You can read less than 100 pages. You read Snap. And so the book is called David's Depression because my middle name is David. My dad's middle name is David. My son's middle name is David. So when I lost my job, I got fired from my job 2014. Very traumatic for me. I felt God let me down. I was lied on. My character had never been questioned. There's some people that don't like me, but my name and character had never been questioned. And that really hurt me. And I had some thoughts that were very unhealthy. Self-harm and harming others. Actually making plans to harm others. And that's not my natural way of being. But that is part of what comes with not dealing with depression and anxiety. And so my father had prostate cancer. And for the first time ever, I seen him vulnerable. I seen him not being the hero. I seen him worried. And when I say worried, I don't mean not having faith in God, but just being shook by the uncertainty of tomorrow. Although tomorrow is always uncertain. And then my son, he has Crohn's disease. So when he was 13 years old, he weighed 53 pounds. For 10 months, he didn't eat a meal. We didn't know what was wrong with him. 5 different doctors gave us 5 different diagnoses. And then the psychiatrist, when we were at the Children's Hospital in Birmingham, Alabama, they took us in a separate room, my wife and I. And they had Kenneth in another room. And we found out later, they asked Kenneth, how will he respond or how will he deal with it if he doesn't get healed? And my son said, I'm going to be healed. And he's a 13-year-old kid. And the guy said, well, you may not be healed. We need to know, have you had any suicidal thoughts? So I got upset. I said, why would y'all ask my son that? He said, well, a lot of our pediatric patients have suicidal thoughts when they realize their life is not going to be what it's always been. So because of his smaller body, sports wouldn't be what they had been. He loves the skateboard. At the time, he couldn't skateboard. His knee was swollen. He was very weak. And so he was just telling us, it's just, that's a natural question. And he said, have you had suicidal thoughts? My son said, oh no, I'm gonna be healed. And the man said, what if you're not healed? He said, I'm gonna be healed. He said, I understand your family goes to church. I understand you have a faith background. I'm not against that, but I'm practical. I'm just asking, what are you gonna do if you're not healed? My son said, I either be healed on this side of heaven or on that side of heaven. Wow. But either way, I'll be healed. It's a 13-year-old kid who got saved at 6 years old. And although he won't clean his room, and his bathroom smell like 15 football players live with us, he loves Jesus. And he really believes that Jesus is in charge of his body. Now, with that being said, he takes Humira twice a month. And we believe that's acting as the healing agent until Jesus decides to heal him completely, if that's his will. I say all that to say, my players passing away, my mother passing away, me, my father, my son, our different issues cause us to face and deal with mental illness, made me think, what about other men, especially ones who look like me, who don't have anyone to talk to? What's going to get the conversation started? And so I thought this book could be a catalyst for that conversation.
Wow, that's very good. And this book is definitely a catalyst for the conversation, because it is, as he said, it's less than 100 pages. It's an easy read. It's a very easy read. I read it probably in about, I guess, an hour or so. Yeah. And I was able to follow along. I love how you wrote the book. I love how you wrote the book and how the young man was expressing himself, because as you said, that's one of the problems. We don't want to talk about it. And that is why I have this platform. And everybody knows me, that knows what I do, know that my mantra is, I'm not keeping quiet anymore. And I'm not. And let me dial back just a second here, Willie. You talked about your mom dying by suicide, and I'm very sorry about that. I did not know that. I know your mom. Matter of fact, I knew you when you were in your mother's womb. And that's right. To see you now, it's just like, oh my, and it's, David almost wants to slide off my tongue when I speak to you, because I know you are known as Willie, but I know you as Lil David, because that's what your mama called you. Your mama called you Lil David.
You can still call me Lil David.
Okay, I love your humility. I love your humility. And my brother, my oldest brother, died by suicide. Wow, he was actually thank you. He was actually in the Florida State Hospital in Chattahoochee when he committed suicide. And all three of my brothers, my story is, and this is how I became a mental health advocate. I am one of 4 siblings. I'm the youngest and the only girl. And all 3 of my brothers were affected by severe mental illness. As I said, my oldest brother was bipolar, and he died by suicide around the age of 31 or 32. My middle brother, who's schizophrenic, has been missing for over 23 years. We have not seen or heard from him. My youngest brother, who's schizophrenic, has been institutionalized in a facility for the criminally insane for 36 years. So I am very, very familiar with mental illness. As a matter of fact, my book was just released Crazy didn't get me preparation for my destiny. Crazy didn't get me because it didn't. But I do tell people it depends on what day you catch me on. You
Right,
might catch a little cray, you know.
Yeah.
So but yeah,
and I have a grandfather who had major bouts of mental illness and an auntie who was in that same hospital. And I don't talk about their stories because I don't want my family to think that I'm trying to capitalize on what happened to our family. And so everything I talk about, I've gotten permission to talk about. You know, again, my mother's not here anymore. But stuff with my father, my son, I don't ever want to tell someone's story that doesn't want that story to be told. Although we can learn from the story, but some people are embarrassed, which I understand. Some people think, you know, that's nobody's business. That's my family business. I totally understand. I'll tell you this, Cynthia, when my daughter is sick as well. She has type 1 diabetes. I never posted about it. My son's sickness, never posted. My dad's sickness, never posted. My mom's death, never posted. Didn't even post when the funeral was. To me, all those things were too personal for people I really don't know to chime in and have a comment. And so I never. Now, years after it was over, I shared it in my presentations because I felt led to share it to help people in the audience. And every time somebody comes to me and say, I suffer with that. I needed to hear that. I thought I was the only one. And so, but I never shared it in the moment. It just was too fragile for me. And it wasn't worth me taking the risk of someone being hurt by me sharing their personal business.
I totally understand because, believe it or not, I absolutely feel the same way. So you said something about your son when he was diagnosed with the Crohn's. Did you say Crohn's? With the Crohn's, and that he was asked the question by the professionals. And let me just interject here. A couple of people have said, I got a couple of texts or what have you, that there's an echo. People, he's on the side of the road and there probably is going to be an echo. So if you can hang in there, you know, you just hearing double time. He just took the headsets out. So if you all can let us know if it's better, then we would appreciate it. Say it again.
I heard the echo before. I kind of hear it.
Well, you know, this is technology. I think I had the same issue. Was it last week? I think it was last week. Yeah, I think I had the same issue, but it's okay. I can't be worried about stuff. So anyway, if they can hear what they can hear, and if whatever they can't hear, they don't need to hear. So I ain't trying to be funny, y'all. I'm just saying what I'm saying. So but we were talking about your son with the Crohn's and how he was asked by the professionals, you know, had he thought of harming himself, I believe. And I was sharing with you backstage that I just completed the mental health first aid course for adults and for young folks, for our children. And one of the things that I want to bring up about that, since you mentioned that about your son, is as far as talking about suicide with someone who you believe is in jeopardy or in danger of taking their own life, we have to ask the question, and we have to ask that question directly. We can't beat around the bush, but we have to just ask the question. Are you thinking about killing yourself? Do you have a plan? And I know that is something that we don't like to ask, just like, you know, a lot of people don't like to talk about death. We don't want to make no funeral arrangements. We don't want to deal with stuff. And then you die and your wife and your children trying to scramble around and figure out what to do. Well, the same thing with this whole suicide thing. This thing is real, and especially with our young people, with what they're facing today. Now, each generation, it gets worse and worse. So here's what I want to ask you with regard, because you've been on both sides of the fence, so to speak. You have children, you've dealt with it. Let me say this before I ask you the question. I want to say this. You talked about when you lost your job and how you were having some unhealthy thoughts about perhaps harming yourself and harming others. And let me tell you, I feel you. We right here. Because the same thing happened to me, although I wasn't let go. I actually left the job, but I left the job because I was under so much pressure because these people wasn't acting right. They wasn't doing the right thing. And I'm like, you know what? Somebody going to jail or somebody going to hell. So I need to get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? But okay, so when I left, I was having thoughts of like, you know what? I know what time the office manager gets in the morning. I know she gets in before the crack of dawn because she likes to get work done. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to meet her here one morning. I'm going to surprise her when she get here. And I'm just going to do whatever I'm going to do. I would ride by the facility where I used to work with these thoughts of what. Now, my thoughts were more of what I wanted to do to them. My thoughts were more homicidal than suicidal. But the question that I want to ask you is, what are some common signs and signals that parents, teachers, and friends should watch out for when it comes to our youth who may be at risk for suicide?
There's a lot of signs. They're so easy to see. The problem is we do not communicate with our teenagers. They come in the house. They have their own room. It's like their roommate. They have a refrigerator in there, TV, video games, cell phone, laptop. Some of them have their own car. We don't eat together. We don't worship together. It's so sad. Remember back in the day when there was one TV in the whole house? So everybody had to sit together to watch the Jeffersons. To watch the Larry Bunker guy. Like at the Honeymooners. MacGyver. Matlock. The Cosby Show. But now we're not around our kids. So if you're a parent on here, I want you to calculate the actual time you spend with your child per day. How many minutes per day are you and your child communicating, not on the phone? And so the reason I say that, to answer your question, when they're not acting like their normal self, that's a red flag. When they don't want to be around anybody, it's a red flag. When they don't care about anything, that's a red flag. When they don't have plans for the future, that's a red flag. And so we live in a society now where this phone has tricked us into thinking that what we see in it is reality. And it's not. And so for my son, after that happened, I start asking him. Once every 2 weeks. His name is Kenneth David. We call him KD. I say, hey, KD, you thinking about killing yourself? I just sit in his bed. I punch him a little bit. Rest him a little bit. I say, man, you can't kill yourself. You can't do it. We love you too much. He like, Dad, what is wrong with you? Ain't nobody thinking about killing themselves. I said, well, if you are, come talk to me. Because your dad is a motivator. But sometimes the motivator needs a motivator. And I thought about killing myself. He was like, whatever. Then I broke it down to him. And so when I was thinking about harming other people, in my mind, if I get harmed in the process, I'm good. If I go to prison for life, I start a prison ministry. I'm good. But those are not rational thoughts. And so you talking about driving by and seeing the woman in the morning. I can't even go into detail of my thoughts. It may get me arrested. But I'm gonna tell you this. I know how the best way you can hurt me. You can slap me. I can deal with that. You can blow up my car. I can deal with that. God is best me to make some money. You can take it all. I can deal with that. But if you mess with Taylor or KD, I just don't care what happens next to me or you. Just don't care. I'm 45. I lived a great life. I don't have to live anymore. I'm good. You mess with one of them, that'll be our legacy of binging that. And so in my mind, these people that did me wrong, the way to get them back was to go after their children. That's how I know I wasn't in my right mind. Because that's not me. I love children. I'm called to children. All children. I've had fathers when I was a coach threaten me. Why my son not playing? I'll knock you out. And when I was in Live 20, the SRO asked me, do you want to get a restraining order against this man? He's threatened you several times. I said, man, forget that man. I love his son. At least he here. All the other parents, they're not threatening me. But they don't even come to the games. So he come to every practice and every game. And I'm sick of his mouth too. But I know he love his son. He just don't know how to express it. So what I'm saying is, it's hard to admit that I was outside my right mind. Especially when you're a motivator, you're a coach, you're a preacher. You can't have any problems. You a man's man. We don't cry. We tough. The toughest man never lived with Jesus. He cried. He didn't have it all together. And he never sinned. Imagine my simple self trying to pretend I got it all together. So I just got to a point. I don't really care what folks think. I'm going to try to live the best life I can and make a great life for my family. And so the answer is, I know it went around about.
No, that's okay.
When they're not their normal self, and you can look them in the eye and tell there's something different. And the principle and strategy to fix that sounds really simple, but they need to have a hobby. Something that they do. Could be sports, could be drawing, could be arts. They need to exercise. They need to sleep more. Like not laying in the bed all day like I was when I was depressed. But get proper sleep and proper exercise and eat right. And all of these things are things we take for granted. But what happens when you're mentally unhealthy? It ends up bleeding into you being physically unhealthy. And it all works together. The problem is when we see someone that's physically handicapped, we have empathy for them. They're on a cane. They're in a wheelchair. They're in a cast. We say, "Oh, what happened?" But when someone's mentally handicapped, there's a negative stigma attached. Imagine coming to work and saying, "Man, my weekend was so bad. I thought about killing myself." Somebody think you what? What's wrong with you? Might have saying, I haven't been out of bed in 4 days. I just been laying in bed. I just don't have any energy. I don't want to get out. Or might have said, I broke out with hives. I got this presentation coming. I don't know what to do. We'll say something's wrong with you. You're weak. You need to suck it up. If you're a man, you soft. And instead we should say, man, I've been there too. Want to talk about it?
Normalizing the conversation is basically what you're saying. You know, like you said, if somebody has a physical illness, you know, if they have cancer or if they have diabetes or if they have cholesterol, they just get the pill or get the shot or whatever, and they get the radiation and they get treated for it. And we're so empathetic. Oh, she had to shave all of her hair. Now she's bald because she has cancer. And oh, that's, you know, and I ain't mad at the people with cancer, but I'm just making an analogy here, just piggybacking off what David was saying, you know. But then if somebody has a mental illness, which is a dis-ease of the mind, then we're looking at them like, woo, you know, like they got the heebie-jeebies or something. And one of the things that we have to do, and that's why, again, I believe this platform is so important. We have to Number one, we got to keep the conversation going. We got to normalize the conversation. We have to normalize it. Too many people suffer in silence. That was the issue with my family. You alluded to it earlier, hey, I'm a preacher, and I'm thinking about, doing harm to myself or doing harm to somebody else because I'm a preacher. But preacher, on your birth certificate, it ain't preacher Willie David Spears. It's Willie David Spears. You know what I'm saying? You a man. That's a title. So that does not exclude you from having regular thoughts. So I noticed that I kept it up there because I wanted you to address this. Barbara Dixon commented about parents needing, as you were talking about I love how you said when KD was going through what he was going through, and you're like, man, you think about killing yourself? He's like, come on, Dad, But what I'm saying is, let me assure you that there's a misnomer that whenever you mention suicide to somebody, are you planting a seed in their mind? So a lot of times people think that, well, I don't want to mention suicide to them because I don't want to plant the seed. No, you ain't got to plant no seed. If somebody's gonna take their life, they're going to take it. You don't have to plant the seed. Trust me, the enemy already planted the seed.
That's right.
That's right. So I love how you said, and this is flowing right into what I was going to ask you next. But Barbara said more parents need to pay attention to their children, which you were talking about that. And I'm sure that's what she was commenting about. She said she had someone mention in a parent-teacher meeting how his daughter cuts herself. And we all know, we don't all know, but some of us are familiar with kids cutting themselves. And that's a sure sign that you are thinking about doing some further harm. And I'm sure in your experience with young folks, you have come across kids cutting.
Several. So, and I'm gonna tell you these three quick stories.
Sure.
One of the most polished young men I ever met in my life. He was so polished. When I met him, I said, I know you're not from this community. I just nothing against this community, and I won't say the name. But these children, they didn't talk with the eloquence that this young man did. He reached out and shook my hand, looked me in the eye, told me his name, and it was refreshing. I invited him to play football. And I said, I'm not trying to be mean, but I know you weren't born here. He was like, no, sir, I wasn't. I just moved in last week. I'm talking about polish. This young man is very impressive. Highest ACT score on our team. Yes, sir. No, sir, kid. Never missed a practice. Could not get into the military because of all the cut marks he had on his wrist. Here's the sad part. I coached him for 2 years. Never noticed him. Another kid named Danny Manning. I'll say his name. During COVID, I needed a haircut. All the black barbershops was closed. This is a white kid. He used to be in my class. Well, we talked about suicide. I go to get a haircut. I find on social media. He come outside. He said, "Hey, coach, you gotta wait in the car. But when it's your turn, I come get you." I said, "Cool." I go in after a while. When he calls me, I'm in the chair. And he's crying out. Say he's crying out for help. I'm too busy on my phone. I'm a coach at a time. Speaking on the side. He talking. I'm like, yeah, man. I got you. I'm gonna pray for you. But he's crying for help. 2 weeks later. All over my feed. I can't believe Danny did it. He tried it a few years ago. I thought things were getting better. His son's only 3. Rest in peace, Danny. And God said to me plain as day, you dropped the ball. You had an opportunity that I laid right in front of you. But you were too busy with mess. So you missed ministry. Ooh, that changed my way of attacking things. So I feel to this very day that I was part of the reason that he took his life when he did. Now, I don't know if he would have 10 years later, but I know that day he was screaming for help. So our children, and this is a grown man, but our children are screaming for help. But we on TikTok. We watching Sports Center. We looking at coach bags. We on Snapchat. Or better yet, we preaching. We seeing about the homeless. We're a teacher. We're spending more time with other folks' kids than we do our very own kids. Last quick story. Had a female student cutting herself. And I noticed. So I asked her about it. And God has blessed me to connect, especially with young people. I mean, it's just a gift. I was in New Orleans today. I don't even know these kids. It's a connection. Laughing, joking, exchanging information, talking to them. I asked this girl, what's going on? And she says, Coach, it feels so good when I cut myself. It's like a release. So I don't want to harm myself. But I just got so much inside me that when I cut myself, it's like a release. And the way she described it, she said it's like jumping off a building. Like I'm going to take my life. But instead of jumping, because I know that would end in death, this is the jump without the death. The sad part is, because she was so articulate, she thought that what she was saying was no big deal. Like her mind, I'm not really hurting myself. And so we had a couple more talks, and then we seek some professional help. And so but I've been there. I had a track girl. She would threaten to kill herself every 2 weeks. And so I told her, look, quit the track team. Because if you're gonna kill yourself, we wasting money. Uniforms, spikes. I already got you something at the banquet. That plaque costs $25. So if you're gonna kill yourself, I need you to go ahead and quit the team. She's like, Coach, you can't say that to me. I say, you're gonna quit the team or write a letter right now to yourself saying you love yourself. So if you kill yourself, I'm gonna read this at your funeral. And I'm gonna say, guys, she loved herself too much. Somebody must have murdered her. And that broke up the monotony and made it so she can talk to me about what she was dealing with to make her want to threaten killing herself all the time. And what we realized, her grandmother had passed. And her grandmother raised her. And she didn't know how to deal with it. So her way of dealing with it was threatening to kill herself. Because that got her the attention that she needed, the love that she needed. And so I got so many more stories, but it's my job to help the ones that God put in my path. And unfortunately, I haven't always got it right. So now my antennas are always up to prevent adolescent suicide.
This is, oh my goodness, this is a lot. And I'm just sitting here just listening to you. And one thing is I absolutely love your transparency, because we get mad at folks because they wear masks and celebrate Halloween, but folks be wearing masks all year round, not just at Halloween. So I thank you, for taking off the mask and putting it out there the way it is, and putting the cookies and the candy where the kids can get it, so we can understand, what's actually going on here. And as always, and we're gonna take a quick breather, you all, because this is powerful. This is so powerful, and I can't wait to get back in to the second half. And I told you, David, I get so involved until I miss that halfway mark, and I missed that halfway mark about 15 minutes ago. But we are going to take a quick breather, but we don't want y'all to go too far, because we're going to dive right back in as we return with the incredible Willie Spears, as he continues to shed light on adolescent suicide prevention. And you are talking about, I mean, this topic is so, there's so much to this topic, but one thing that I love about it is you're hitting the highlights, and you're hitting all of those things that I already was going to talk to you about bringing to the forefront. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick breather, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. And so we're going to dive right back into our interesting, and oh my goodness, this conversation is just, this is something else. We're back with Mr. Willie Spears of the Willie Spears Experience. And at least on every show, probably one time for the last couple of weeks, I've gotten very emotional. And as the infomercial was playing, I got very emotional as I was looking at David, because David happens to be the classmate of my son. So they're the same age. And as I was looking at him, my mind was just going back. I'm like, Lord have mercy. We got grown people. Yeah. I mean, y'all were
Rocky 3 is my favorite movie.
Uh-huh.
Of all time. I first saw that movie with your son and my dad. We lived on Kersey Avenue. My dad took us to the movie. I came back home. Me and Mark, we put a pillow up on my door. We started punching it. We said, we're going to be like Rocky. I actually signed up for boxing classes. My mom bought me some gloves. I found this out later. My dad took them back. Well, my dad was in a program, Job Corps. They brought George Foreman in to box anybody that wanted to box. And my dad saw George Foreman knock out two people. Hit him one time, boom. Another guy come up, boom. And both of them was knocked out cold. And my dad said, "No, you're not boxing." But the movie Rocky, I saw for the first time with my man Marcus Mobley.
Wow, that is phenomenal. I did not know that. When I was in Panama City earlier this year, I actually was in Pittsburgh, where Marcus is, and then traveled to Panama City. Yeah, I was in Pittsburgh and then went to Panama City, and that's when I was able to see you speak for the first time in person at Dr. Anderson's church, and I was just sitting there. I mean, I was just beaming, and I was so proud, and I was just so full, because I'm like, this is little
This
David,
little David.
you know? Yeah. And I was taking shots and videos, and I sent one of the video, a still shot in one of the videos, to Mark. I said, you know this guy?
That's right.
That's right.
That's
He
my
said,
man.
that's my man. Yeah. So
East Bay Boys Club, Millville Elementary School.
Millville Elementary. Yeah. I know. Here we are, full circle. So that's what I mean. It's just, I tell you, I'm beside myself. I'm beside myself right now again. And again, I just want the audience to know that how honored we are to have this man to come and take time out to speak with us this evening, because he could be anywhere else in the country, and he chose for such a time as this to be here. So again, thank you so much. What I want to ask you is, can you share some any specific strategies or interventions that have been proven effective in preventing adolescent suicide, and how can we implement them in our schools and communities?
So one thing I do, it's called a turn and talk. So when I had my football team, we would sit in rows, and they would turn and talk about intimate things. Another thing we would do is I would have them all in a circle, and I would bring one to the middle. And I say, tell me something about this guy that's not sports related. And so what it did, it tore down the walls, and we could be vulnerable. And so instead of waiting until we see those signs, waiting till tragedy happens, we were able to build relationships to prevent those things. And then we talked about others who committed suicide and what that looks like. And why do we think that happened? When I was in Bullitt County, about 2 years before I got the job, a young man committed suicide. And so they were open to talking about it, because when he committed suicide, the county did a great job of talking about it. And so I often say, you can't get in a car wreck and say, oh man, I need to get some car insurance. It's too late. So we can't wait till someone's at their wits end and say, do you want to talk about it? And so one preventive measure is to create an environment that's conducive to tough conversations. And that's hard to do with guys. So I'm speaking at 3 men conferences in the next 30 days. The first one is Saturday in Minnesota. They want to talk about mental health, colon cancer, heart disease, financial literacy. That's smart that they're opening this door. I'm excited to have a conference. But what's next? So do we have small groups? Do we have a community? We have to create a culture where it's okay to feel. And I often say it's for men. Men should have emotions, but not be emotional. And what I mean by that is it's okay for me to hurt, to cry, to be sad, to not understand. It's not okay for me to act on those emotions for a long period of time. In other words, I'm angry, so I cuss everybody out around me. And my excuse, I'm dealing with mental illness. It's not okay for me to say I'm hurting, so I'm not gonna go to work for 2 months. Like I just think men can't afford to do that. So what do we need to do? We need to hurt. Talk to someone. And have them walk us through it while we continue to live our life. Because so many people are depending on us. And what happens is we mask what we're feeling with alcohol, tobacco, drugs, sexual relationships, and we hide as if everything is okay. So it'd be better if we had a group, an environment, a culture. We could talk about these things. Now for adolescents, if they're on the team, it's hard. Because what kind of coach is going to say, hey guys, let's go hit him in the mouth. And if you've been crying, come talk to me. Like it's contradictory to the culture. I grew up in church my whole life. I never heard a small group. Never heard a preacher preach that it's okay for men to be vulnerable. So there's no space for us. The rappers are tough. The athletes are tough. The preachers are tough. You even hear preachers saying, I ain't always been saved. You better not run up on me. Where is the space where I can admit I don't have it all together? I say this, I'll be quiet. I was recently actually behavior specialist at an alternative school. I really miss teaching, but no one would let me do both. So Panama City basically told me we can't pay you to speak and pay you to teach. And so I had to give it up. But it was a middle school kid threatening to beat up everybody. He weighed 110 pounds. 5'5". Couldn't bust a grape. He threatening people, punching his chest. I F y'all up. I F this up. So they call me. Coach Spears, go get it. So I go in the classroom. I say, hey, my man, come here. I ain't going no effing well. I said, come on, man. Come on, just come on, let's talk. No, man, I ain't talking to nobody. So I go up to his desk and I get on my knees. Like physically got on my knees. I said, hey, could you please come with me? I said, when I'm hurting, I don't know how to behave. And I don't know what's going on with you. But I need you to come with me. I'm begging you. He stood up. He stood up. He was a little bit taller than me. He said, man, you think I'm playing with you? I said, I can't fight. So please don't hit me. I don't want no smoke. I know you can fight. I don't want to fight. Because I lose. I just want to talk. He's like, man, you crazy, man. Let's go. But what it did, he had never seen a man admit a weakness. See, real strength is admitting weakness. Real strength is washing feet. I was counseling a couple. I'm doing two weddings in the next 30 days. And I told the wives, I said, real strength is knowing you're right, knowing you can be over your husband, but deciding I will submit. That's real strength. Real strength is to saying, you know what? You don't even know what you're doing. But I'm gonna let you lead. That's real strength. And so then when I got him in the office, I can use my gift of humor. I said, look, you threatened the teacher. So I gotta write you up. Now, I don't want to send you home. But I gotta do whatever the principal want me to do. Then I showed him a picture of my wife. I said, you see my wife? She bad, ain't she? He was like, what? I said, she bad, be honest. He was like, I guess. I said, man, she will break up with me if I don't have a job. If I'm unemployed, she gonna go find somebody else. I said, she ain't no gold digger, but she like a man at work. I said, now I wouldn't get nowhere you and your girl. I'm asking you don't get nowhere me and my girl. He was like, I ain't never think about it like that. I said, so if I don't write you up, they're gonna fire me. And I'm gonna be single. He was like, Cole, man, I get it. Do what you gotta do. And so I sit in the school suspension for one lunch period. When threatening a teacher, he should be out for 5 days. But what it really was, he was hurting. And over time, I didn't get to the root of it. But we got him to talk to a couple counselors about what was really going on. But it all started when he opened up because he saw my vulnerability. Imagine a grown man saying, man, I can't fight. You got it, bro. Please don't hit me. He's using somebody to say, you better shut up. I'll grab you right now. You're going to come on me right now. Say one more word. That doesn't work. It just does it. Right. But it takes a strong man to admit weakness.
Wow. Woo. Wow. That was heavy. That was heavy. It takes a strong man to admit weakness, and how you used what you did by getting on in the knee. You took the knee. You took a knee. Yeah. And that is so powerful. But that's the gift. God has gifted you to be operating in this arena. And it's just phenomenal, like you said. And then you use your sense of humor. And so all of it makes sense if we just, as we were talking earlier backstage, if we just roll with what God has given us, we will be operating for the good of humanity. We look at some people, somebody might look at you and say, oh, I want to do what he's doing, but you ain't called to do what he's doing. The reason why he's doing it the way he's doing it is because he was called to do this. And so my final question to you, and you walked me right on into it. My final question, you hit on it a little bit and you walked me right on into it. But my final question to you is, how can we break the stigma surrounding mental health and suicide, especially among adolescents, and encourage open conversation about these topics? And like I said, you've already hit on a lot of this, but if you could just give us just a little bit more on that, open that up just a little bit more.
I think consistency is the key. If we plan every quarter, we're gonna do this. Or if we use the tools we already have. So if you're a youth league coach, if you're a minister or a volunteer at a church, let's start with your own home. Have those tough conversations. So if something is a priority, it should be scheduled. So we do preventative maintenance.
Wait, stop. I need you to stop right there. Roll that back one more time. If something is a priority, say that again.
It should be scheduled. If something is a priority, it should be scheduled. Right here in my car, it say Grease Pro Oil Change. 95,000 miles, 438 miles. Then it has a date. My oil change is a priority. It's already scheduled. I eat lunch with my son every month. Just me and him. Me, him, and my wife. We eat together. 2 Sundays a month. My daughter's in college. 3 hours away. I travel to Valdosta. And I spend a day with her once a month. Now that sounds crazy. But what I found is we don't schedule it, it doesn't happen. And so what ends up happening when we have family problems, now we want to have a family meeting. So the only time we meet is when there's a problem. So why not meet all the time? So we can.
And then when there's a problem, you already in crisis mode. So I love what you're saying.
Yep. And so those things work. So I think we schedule time to have these real conversations. And then use the role models of the adolescent to open their minds to their superstars having mental problems. Almost every pop singer, actor. It's so many examples. If your kids grew up watching Disney, several of those young kids have committed suicide, unfortunately. The same with the music industry. Guys that haven't committed suicide, these guys have committed crimes. And now they're remorseful. So talk about that. And so the answer to your question is have a plan. When a woman goes to get her hair done, they never say surprise me. Do what you want to do. They have a plan. Whenever someone goes to to do anything of significance. You go to a restaurant. You don't say, I don't need a menu. Surprise me. No, you order what you want. So we have a plan for a hairdo that's not gonna last. And plan for a meal that's not gonna last. We should have a plan for mental illness. We shouldn't wait until tragedy to have a plan. We should have a plan before tragedy strikes. And as I was saying about preventative maintenance, people suggest we go to the dentist twice a year. Oil change every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. Lawn maintenance. Like we have these things in place. And so it should be the exact same thing with our mental health. There should be preventative maintenance. And so I'm not gonna wait till my daughter's heart is broken by some boy to ask her how you doing? How you feeling? Are you okay? I'm asking her that now. I text her every 2 days. You good? She texts back. Thumbs up. I text back. Tell the truth. And then we talk at least twice a week. And in that conversation, I say, you good? Because I'm not always good. And I say, Tay, I should get an Academy Award. Because everybody think I'm always good. I got them fooled, baby. They always like, Spears. How you always so up? You always got this great energy. Yeah. I'm an actor. I'm Denzel. I'm Idris Elba. Because I don't always have it together. But you're not in my inner circle. So I don't share that with you. But I do have people I share it with. And they know what I'm going through. And they know that I'm hurting. Because I'm so strong. I can admit it.
Those are some powerful words right there. I'm so strong that I can admit it. You said a mouthful in talking about, I love it, consistency being the key, and starting at home and having a plan. And one of the things you said that I love is preventative maintenance. And that is so key. All of what you said is so key. You know, I could keep you here all night long, but I know you ain't got all night long and I ain't got all night long. And so we're reaching the end of this engaging conversation. And we want to thank you all for joining us tonight as we look forward to connecting with you again in our next episode. But before we wrap up, Willie, could you just please share, and take your time? I don't care. Take your time, because I could listen to you all night long. Share with us some parting words of wisdom and encouragement with our viewers.
I believe every person is assigned to another person. Maybe several people. Don't neglect the organic relationships that are already in your life. I don't know you like that. So I don't have the permission to ask you tough questions. But there are some people in your life. You know them like that. So you can ask the tough questions. Every week, people reach out to me. I've asked them to do this. Spears, what you struggling with? Two people a day text me a running man emoji. Because I need to run every day. I need to drink more water. I'm going to my third bottle. Somebody text me water. I have things in my life I struggle with. People text me about that. I have financial friends that make sure I'm on point financially. That I'm not buying things I don't need. People hold me accountable. And it's the same with my mental health. I have three buddies. They check on me. And they ask me the difficult questions. And so I want to encourage you to do just that. Realize we're all hurting. Be strong enough to admit you don't have it all together. And I started out by saying Jesus didn't have it all together. I can show you through our scripture I'm not being sacrilegious. He did not sin. But the Bible says everything that we feel, he's felt. So just because you feel doesn't mean you're a failure. We're failures when we don't deal with what we feel. Go get the book, David's Depression. Go to williespears.com. Only $10. Or go to Amazon. And gift that to a young man. He won't even realize he's reading about mental illness. It's just a story. But it's real. And I think it'll bless someone.
Woo.
Thank you for the link.
Absolutely. And y'all, it is a good read. I tell you, this has been absolutely phenomenal. And if you want to hear more of the same, I'm telling you, you were just talking about, and I'm going to say this real quick and we're going to get off of here, but you were talking about how, and I was thinking the same thing, you know, how, man, you always up and you, surely, and I'm just paraphrasing, you ain't got no problems because how you always up. But you said something about those who are assigned to you, who hold you accountable, but then you have accountability partners for different aspects of your life. I love that. I never thought of it that way. And I think that's why sometimes we get overwhelmed because we think my one BFF, we can just dump everything on her or him. But no, you have to have people who are sensitive or maybe even experts when you talked about finance, you know, maybe your accountability partner is a financial advisor. So that's what y'all gonna talk about. When you go to him, you know, that's what he's talking about because that's what he's into. He may not necessarily have to be a financial advisor either, but I'm just using it as an example. But you're going to know, but you are compartmentalizing those accountability partners because oftentimes when we say accountability partner, it's usually just one person and we dump everything on them and they dealing with their stuff. So how they gonna, you know, so I love that. And so the link is here for you to purchase David's Depression. It is a great read. Like I said, it's a short read. I read it in about an hour and it's really a great read for a young person who may be considering suicide. They may not even know they're considering suicide, but if they read David's Depression, they can certainly get some insight. So we really want to thank you all as we come to the end of this powerful episode. And we want to urge you all to remember the importance of adolescent suicide prevention. Again, September is National Suicide Prevention Month, and it's a reminder that we got to stand together and support those who are struggling, our young folks. And let's not forget that our actions, as David said earlier, can make a difference. You know, if you're a young person and you're dealing with, you're struggling with suicide ideation, reach out to a friend, a family member, you know, and then for those of us who are on the other end, we need to know how to listen and to empathize and provide the support in a non-judgmental way. You know, we need to be able to provide the support that they need. And together we can create a world where every adolescent feels valued and understood, because that's part of the problem. They don't feel valued a lot of times, and they don't feel like we understand them. They feel like we're in another whole world. So if you are someone you know is in crisis, don't hesitate to seek help. Reach out to a helpline. 988 is a good place, or reach out to a mental health professional or a trusted adult or individual if you're already adult in your life. And remember, you are never alone. There's always hope. So we want to thank you all so much for joining us today. And let's continue the conversation on adolescent suicide prevention beyond this episode. Remember, together we can save lives and create a brighter future for our youth. And again, we want to express our heartfelt appreciation once more to Willie David Spears. Willie, your presence and your expertise, your humor, your transparency has been so helpful this evening, and we appreciate you so much. This has been How Well Are You, the talk show, where we're dedicated to erasing the stigma surrounding mental illness, one episode at a time. I am Cynthia Mobley Howell, and I'm concluding for the time being. And remember to keep smiling, to stay positive, and to take care of your minds. And y'all know, I always say, peace.